Hello, everybody. Let's see this in YouTube land. Just that actually comes across it. I just wanted to do a quick video. I don't have a ton of time, and in fact, I just very briefly have to step up for a moment. Step up the game. And what time is it? 11:40. What time did the thing say? I don't want to give you another thing. I think I did right. Yeah, 11:30. 12:30, getting in there an hour and a half early, but I can tell that you are ready, so okay. I don't have a ton of time, but I have a bit more than I thought I did. So I just wanted to, what inspired this video is the fact that the dog didn't go upstairs when I thought he was just going to. What inspired this video was somebody posting on YouTube, and I couldn't remember the word they used, so I had to look it up. And basically, it's being antisocial. Like there's introvert and extroverts, but I do believe that most people are both, and I've had other people agree with that. That they often we are more one than the other, just like with many of us, orientation, whatever it is. I also had another interesting thought that you people deep down, or maybe not deep down, just want love. And they get frustrated and angry if they don't get it, when what they could just do is look for it more, give it more. You don't always get what you put out there, but you should. If it's good, you should. And I think most of the time, if you put out the good, you will get it back. But yes, like I say, it doesn't really matter who you are. We all want that, as people. Introverts, extroverts, socially anxious people, not socially anxious people. Something I was thinking about recently, and I've thought about it before too, maybe you have as well, and I think it's actually kind of obvious, but a lot of us, we are looking for, I would say, more than two possibly, but two main things, especially in connections. One is three. I'm going to say three that come to mind, and you can say some if you want as well, and in no particular order. One, maybe we're looking to fill an emptiness within us, a void in the person left, because they're like, there's way more than three. No, they didn't say that, but maybe we're looking to fill some sort of emptiness or void within us. I just wanted to say that one before I forgot it, because the other two, which I may have forgotten as well. Oh, right. We also very much want people that we can relate with, talk to easily, like the same things. But and this might not be what the other one was, but I think it is, and it certainly is one. We also want the opposite of that as people. We want people that, for lack of a different way of putting it, intrigue us, or a little, or different than us. Like I think a lot of people, they like people that like the things that they like. But it's possible that a lot of people also don't like to see themselves reflected too much in another person. Don't like to, possibly, I wonder, even somebody who likes themselves, might not, if nothing else, they just be like giving copies, I guess. But no, we also look for people that, oh, that's interesting. That's new to me. I've never, tried that or known much about it or whatever it is. Novelty, I guess you could call it, or like I say, intrigue. I'm just going to put something in the garbage and something in the recycling. And hopefully the dog's going to fit. But yeah, so, I guess I just wanted to say that, and, not to toot my own bugle, to put it that way, but I feel like this is a pretty good place to do so on this channel. If you're somebody that struggles with social anxiety, step out of your comfort zone a little bit. Let's find something that you would like to talk about, that you enjoy talking about, and talk. The dog's being a bit restless. And I put him, usually we put him upstairs when I go out, but it's a little too soon to do that. So I'm hoping he just, yeah. But anywho, so yeah, like I was just saying, if you're someone who struggles with social anxiety, I challenge you to come out of your comfort zone a little bit. It's true that may not always be a good choice, but on this channel, it's a safe spot to do so. That's what perhaps some people struggle so much with it, just the, and therefore live with it every day, probably, but just the reminder of it is hard for them, when they hear somebody else say it, it's like, oh yeah, I got that, and, possibly, I don't know, maybe, but I'm a fairly social person. I mean, but I suppose we all have it occasionally, especially with new people. I said new, N-E-W. But yeah. Anyway, I do have something. I'm going to be around a bunch of people later today that listening, observing, maybe giving a bit of conversation. But like I say, I do have some time still before that, and I'm not sure if I should say this next part, but it's coming to mind, so maybe I will. And basically, so I was just looking for something on this kind of cluttered table, but it's okay. To prove the point that I mentioned earlier, and I hope that people will hear this with love and care. I'm not necessarily trying to boast, but what I'm wanting to let you know is that this is a okay place to do so. Like I said it on somebody's video, but that was there. This is here. You know what I mean? I don't know why I'm struggling to say this. I don't really, because it's a good thing, and it's true. It really is true. I think I'm struggling to say it because, well, let's just say this. I'm a little bit thinking that somebody might mistreat it. And if that thought crosses your mind, I request that we just don't do it. And I would suggest that if that crosses your mind, that you take a moment and you think to yourself, why? Why would I do that to my fellow human? There's so much power actually, and I think some of us, we grow up hearing it, and I don't want to say we shrug it off, but maybe we kind of do. There's so much power in treating people how you want to be treated. I'm not saying this because I experience a lot of bullying on here. Thankfully, I don't. I am wearing some of my lunch apparently, though. And not a lot of trolls either, which is also good. But yeah, basically, treat people how you want to be treated is a very powerful phrase. And if you really stop and think about it, I mean, like I say, a lot of these things are very deeply human, right? And so when we say that something is human, that pretty much means that it means all of us. maybe in slightly different ways, from each other, for certain individuals differently than others. But it truly does mean that it's just a natural part of, being human. And again, sometimes you have to look a little deeper than the surface, sometimes on your actions and your feelings and that kind of stuff. But truly, we all want love. We all want respect. We all want connections. It's as simple as that, folks. So, and I'm a very empathic person. Um, and I think that that's pretty obvious when you watch my content. But for the newbies or those that haven't realized yet, like, I was watching one, YouTube just showed me a string of videos, none of them live, none of them currently live, but recent. A few different people with similar themes, I would say. I don't know why it took YouTube so long to get the algorithm to do that. Well, I mean, they do it, but it seems very obvious today for some reason. Not necessarily because of how I'm feeling, I wouldn't say, just that it did. They were smaller channels. Maybe it was the people themselves, the title, maybe, I don't know. But and I said to one of them, and I actually probably would have said it to all of them, but I didn't, that I could feel their pain. I mean, that's kind of the definition of an empath, right? I mean, but I don't want people to hear that and think, oh, well, I don't want to make you feel pain, so I'll just avoid you or stay away, because I think there's a phrase out there that pain is less painful when it's shared. Meaning that, if you share some of your burdens and your struggles and you open up to somebody, hopefully it'll be a good person. Like I sometimes say, you don't have to have special qualifications. A lot of people do, but sometimes those people aren't accessible, or sometimes they're tainted because of the work they do. And I'm not trying to offend anybody that does that kind of work, myself included. But seriously, because we're all human, because we all are living, a life, and there is when you really think about it, or when you start to think about it, there's a lot of similarities that we all experience in life at some points and at different points, and that's the thing. That's one of the things that I think makes people different from each other, is that we're all going through different things. I mean, sometimes it's more of a unity thing. Other times it's like, for instance, one person's getting married, one person's breaking up with their partner, one person's being born, one person's dealing with a death. Like there can be opposites, but at times in your life, you will be on the other side of that. So, if you have been, it's easier to empathize with it. But I would say, even if you haven't been, you could still do so, and empathize with it. So when I say that I feel the other person's pain, it means that either that it resonates, very specifically, or that it's just, I hear the struggle. I feel bad that they're struggling. Is there something I can do to, like that song I covered recently, Before You Go. So, and I saw it with the comments, actually, because it was on somebody else's video, but, it says, is there something I could have said to make you happy better? Only I'd have known you had a storm to weather. So, and he's very popular, but for some reason he's not it. I don't know much about him. I know a couple of his songs, but so that kind of speaks to that. That song. Other songs probably do too. And there's another one. We're all in this together. It's kind of a random one, but it's true. It's true. So, I'm not saying that we all have to be, perfectly aligned and living the same life, because we just aren't. But we could see the similarities and work through the differences, I guess is a good way to put it. There's been a little bit of one person, I don't know if it's been the same person each time, but dancing at the top there. I'm going to keep this short because I don't have a ton of time and I've jam packed a lot into it, and nobody is saying anything that I can see. So I'll wrap up very shortly here. But I did want to just say, because people will believe the numbers they see, and I have a video just the other day actually about that. It's about quality in the title. I happen to, because I was just wanting to check that if I put a comment on somebody's video and then click my icon, it leads to my. I was pretty sure it led to our channel, but it does. And it showed a little thing at the top that said the channel had one comment. That is not true. I know sometimes it seems like it's quiet on here for myself and to those that see it, but there's often live conversations in the live chat, whether it shows after or not, and occasionally other comments. So, it's under the radar a lot of times, and it's not getting noticed as much as some, and I feel mixed about that. Honestly, mixed. I mean, there are some people that probably don't deserve as much attention as they get, but a lot of people do for one reason or another. They do, and so good for them. But yes, when there's so much on a platform, not everything's going to get the recognition and such that it deserves and needs, and for the goodness we're trying to put out in the world there. So in here, so and I mean, currently in this chapter of my life, I mean, today's not so much an example of that, happily, but in this chapter of my life, aside from the person I live with, I've not gotten a lot of opportunity to do so, and I'm trying to figure out. It's a bit of a process, it seems like. I'm trying to figure out ways to do so, but until then, and even then, YouTube is the way that I can be here to connect with folks and support each other and do music occasionally. If you ever, of course, let me know. And other than that, yeah. So that's not. It's not accurate. I mean, one is a small number, and I'm not just saying it. Like seriously, it's not. In fact, there's one person who has been on the live chat quite often in my videos. She's been, and in another person's videos that we both follow, and she's not been in either for quite a while. And I'm trying not to be worried, but I am. And it's annoying because I actually have another way that I can reach her, but it didn't work when I tried. I think I even mentioned that to her once, and she said she could try with the other one. But I mean, I don't know if she ever did or not. But I mean, if she never got that one, then she wouldn't know where to send it to, unless she remembered or had it on a paper or something, or saved it somewhere. So, but so that's just one example of someone who has enjoyed being on the content before, and appreciates me. But yeah, so that's, I think, one other thing that I will say as far as social connections, whether you think that somebody is introvert, extrovert, whatever, I would say don't be of the attitude that you don't owe somebody an explanation. It's always a kind thing to do. Sure, no can be an answer to things, but people are also very naturally curious. They also, and sometimes your reason, they will accept. They will accept, and they will say, "Okay, thanks for telling me." You know, um, this way I don't have to wonder. You know, they can come up with all kinds of reasons in their head, which may or may not be right. Might as well get the right one. because a lot of people will try and you know, I could use a specific example from somewhat recently, but it's the only one that's coming to mind. But yeah, I would say try not to ghost people. You know, if you really must, if you really have engaged with them and you decide not to, and I'm not saying that this person I was just talking to has done that, but and you decide not to, be a kind person. I mean, you could say you are, and I'm sure you are, but truly be a kind person and just say, you know, so I do this when I, if especially like I say, if it's someone I've had communications with, um, and I do it either one to try and work out the issue instead of saying, oh, they hit a boundary or I'm going to avoid, try and work out the issue. I will say sometimes it'll work, sometimes it won't. But I also do it because, to get it off your chest, to you know, um, to be kind to the other person, like I say. So again, I would say don't ghost people. And again, I'm really not saying that Anna's doing that. I really am not. I don't think she is anyway. I hope not. But I would, but you know, the, against the culture, right? And I would say that there was another part to it I was going to say that I'm not remembering at the moment. Oh, check in on each other. If you've formed even a slight connection with somebody, sit and think to yourself for a moment. I've had some nice interactions with this person. Some people are very black and white. They're like, okay, I've had interactions with them, but I wouldn't necessarily see them as a friend. Other people will. And I think if we think about that and remember that, and whether that's because the need is different between the people, or it's just how they define it, whatever. So I would say, um, stop and think for a moment and think, okay, I've had some nice interactions with this person. We seem to enjoy, talking to each other. In fact, um, you know, yeah, confused me the other day, but and maybe you matter to them. Maybe you matter to them, and they might be worrying about you. Again, I'm not trying to guilt trip this person I'm talking about, or I'm really speaking in a general sense. Although I do hope she's doing okay, and I do hope to hear from her soon. Let's put it that way, right? But you know, and not only let people know that you're okay, that you're alive, that you're, open up if you're struggling to as well, because they'll tell you whether they feel they can help or have the capacity or not. Um, but and like say, I'm here for you. But yeah, and to see how they're doing. You know, one thing also I will add to that comes to mind is if someone says they're doing okay, I don't always get more of a response. Depending on the person, and I don't even. This doesn't even seem to come up very often. Oddly, you'd think it would, but if somebody says, "Just got something up that well from lunch," if somebody says that they're doing okay, I would kind of suggest saying just okay. And if you want to take it a step further and say, is there anything going on that you'd like to talk about? Then do that. Anyway, I'm going to keep this short so that for those that prefer the shorter videos, they will. Um, but somebody did just tune in, so I'd like to welcome you to the channel. Curious if you've been to it before, how you came across it, and if there's anything you'd like to say on the topic that I'm posting, Kate, you left. So, and whether it's because I welcome them in, you know, I think people should stop and think about that one too. The people that are like, yeah, I don't really like that, but I'm still listening. Why don't you like it? I mean, I'm not until you comment. I'm not seeing your name, and a lot of people don't go by their names on YouTube anyway. So until you comment, it may feel like it because you're hearing me say it, but I'm really not, calling you out. I'm simply just welcoming you to the video and inviting, like I said the other day, not forcing conversation, but inviting it. So I hope you will accept the invitation. And like I say, also like and subscribe, hit the notification bell, and we keep building the community on YouTube, and it's a lovely thing. So sometimes it's quieter or slower than other times, but it's a great thing. Okay, take care, everybody. Bye for now.